Welcome to episode 380 of We Don't Die Radio. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And this is another video episode. I'm doing more and more these days. So if you are listening on your podcast and you'd rather be watching, just head over to YouTube and type in the search, We Don't Die Radio 380. Our guest today is a fascinating lady that I'm so excited to welcome back and see again. She's a certified genealogist, the author of 27 books and hundreds of articles and essays and more that have appeared in nearly every major genealogical journal and publication. She is also a medium, and her brand new book is titled Midlife Medium, a genealogist's quest to converse with the dead. Sharon Carmack, welcome back to We Don't Die Radio.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say at the very beginning, I am so grateful, and I know hundreds, thousands of people who listen to you are so grateful for all you do for the mediumship community and those who are struggling to understand the afterlife. And so thank you for everything you give.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that. It fuels me to keep going. It is a natural expression for me to share what I love. So this occurs to me as easy, and I get to meet friends and under all of it. And I think you're the same way, is we've felt profound grief and we know exactly what it's like and the questions that come up. And so to be able to share and give people hope on probably the biggest question in the universe, do we go on? I think it's just, we can't help but share. So kudos back to you. So we're a mirror for each other. So, well, I was looking back. You were first on 5 years ago, talking a little bit about genealogy. I know. And then a year and a half ago or so, we had spoken about your new book then, which was the Maria B. Hayden book, The American Medium, who brought spiritualism to the UK. Oh, look at you showing it off. I love when you do that. Oh, I love it. But
I don't have all 27 to show off, but
no, that'd be overwhelming. But now there's a new one that's just coming out. You got a copy of that? Midlife Medium. I love the title.
Just got some copies, and
that's really great, really great. And we are airing this on release day. So
yes,
it is now available if you're listening to this or watching right now. So Sharon, I wouldn't mind, even though we've spoken before, there's a lot of people that are new to listening to the show. If you could just tell us a little bit about your history, and I'm sure that's within the book as well. But I'll let you kind of lead the dance because you know what you're passionate about right now. And as a medium, you are very intuitive. So speak to us, my friend.
I'll speak to you. Thanks, Sandra. Well, I've been a professional genealogist for over 30 years, which is amazing because I'm only 35. But I have been a certified genealogist for, I think, about 32, 33 years now. And I think all genealogists recognize that we have some kind of link to our ancestors. We may not call it mediumship, we may not even call it psychic, but we know that things happen when we start researching our ancestors. Books will fall off the shelf at the library and open to the page with the ancestor on it. Or back in the day when we scrolled through microfilm, it would just stop at the right page and we didn't even have the right microfilm on the reader. I mean, stories like this go on. And so we know there is some kind of connection when we start researching our ancestors. Well, I always knew it, but there was a point, and this is in the book, and it's really kind of an embarrassing story, but
Bring it on, sister.
I know, I was flipping through channels and stopped on the Long Island Medium. And I didn't know anything about mediumship. I mean, I believed in an afterlife. As a child, I tried to communicate with spirits, but never. I mean, I did the Ouija board, all these crazy things, never happened. So I saw the Long Island Medium and I thought, gee, can anybody become a medium? I was 56 65 now, I was 56 then. And so I did what I normally do. I researched it. I started looking for books on how to become a medium and what the spirit world was all about. And that's what started me on my quest. And I knew I would write a memoir about it. So I was taking copious notes and kept a journal. And so I would have all the information in real time. I wouldn't have to rely on my poor memory to write this memoir. And in the course of all that, my other goal was, okay, can I become a medium and can I enhance my genealogical research by communicating with my ancestors?
Mhm.
So that was the goal. And that was what the book is about. So I don't want to go too far into it yet. I want to see what you have to say, and you have to read the book to find out if I met my goal.
You're so funny. You got to give us a little more, because I have found, believe it or not, yeah, and I know you've had some of this practice too. The more you give, the more people want to find out more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had interviewed one lady on the show. I won't say who it is. I won't. And she was the author of a new book, and she's pretty famous actually for something else. And every time I asked her a question, she says, "Oh, that's on page 215.
Oh, I won't.
That's on page 380. Oh, I know. And at the very end, I have to share this. She says, "Well, what I can give you is a bit of a meditation that I have, you know." So she had everybody listening close their eyes, and then she just said a few words, and I said, and she says, "Oh, you get a free audio download after you buy the book." I thought, oh my goodness. So
no, I won't do that to you.
the more you give, the more people want to read. Well, I find it really interesting anytime you and I get to talk, because you have such a passion for discovery, and I love that. And lately at night before I fall asleep, I've been watching the show Finding Your Roots, and I am always so inspired and how empowered people are left when they find out about their ancestors. So I don't really even know what to ask you. Clearly you are a medium.
Yes.
Go ahead, fill in the blanks.
Okay. I'm a certificate holder of the Spiritualist National Union as a demonstrating medium and inspired speaker. I love demonstrating mediumship. And in fact, if I can get this in right now, June 25th, which is a Saturday, will be my official launch party online. And I will be doing some demonstrations during that as well. But when I was writing Maria Hayden's book, it was after I had become a medium. It was before I became a certificate holder. It was still, well, you're always in training, but I was still very much in training. And every night I would talk to Maria. And I think I shared some of this in the other show, but so I'll keep this part brief. But I would talk to her and say, I'm going to write your biography. And I don't know if she chose me or I chose her, or it was mutual, but she would lead me to records I don't think most people would think to look for. Even other genealogists, maybe they would. I don't want to, say, I'm super genealogist or anything, but I really felt her presence guiding the book, guiding the research, guiding how I was writing it, because it was her story. It's not mine, it's her story. And so in my quest to become a medium, which I talk about in Midlife Medium, I think that's one of the things, if genealogists aren't conscious that their ancestors are trying to help, you can develop a consciousness about it, ask for their help, and if they're able to, they will help you. I'm working on my next project about another spiritualist. You didn't think this was it, right?
Of course you are. No, I didn't think this was it. I knew it wasn't it, but go ahead.
I mean, I am close to retirement age, but I'm not there yet.
You will never retire. There'll always be some project that you're working on.
As my father said, I'll retire when the hearse comes to take me out the door.
And maybe not even then.
So my next project is about another spiritualist. And at first, and she's not my ancestor, but she lived from, I don't have her birth and her birth date. I think it was 1826, somewhere around there is when she was born. She died in 1908. And I went back and forth with how to write her story. And I think it's because she was going back and forth of whether she wanted her story told. At first, I thought I was going to tell it as nonfiction. Then I thought, no, I'm going to tell it as fiction. Then she can inspire me with her emotions and her feelings. And I can, because I can't document that. And then I started hitting snags with that. I didn't feel confident. I'm not a fiction writer. I'm a nonfiction writer. And so I didn't feel confident in writing it that way. I felt like I was taking too many liberties and not giving her story. So now I'm back to nonfiction and it feels so much better. And so I really feel she was on the fence too. And the reason she was on the fence is she was duped by charlatan mediums. And she was put in insane asylums for it. Her family locked her away for it. And so I think she was on the fence. Do I want my story told or do I not? And I think she knows that I will tell it with as much empathy as I can, so that she doesn't look like a fool.
Because can you tell us who it is?
Her name is Harriet Beach. And she was the wife of the editor of the Scientific American, and he was a skeptic.
Well, you gave me goosebumps. That sounds like a great.
So I did write an article. It was published on Literary Hub. If you go to Literary Hub and type in Carmack in the search, that article will come up. It's a very abbreviated form of it, and they don't like source citations, so the citations aren't there, unfortunately. But I found her court case where her family was trying to commit her. And I mean, the documentation there is fabulous. It tells a marvelous story. And so I will be able to tell her story, her husband's story as a skeptic, and the story of the two fraudulent mediums and how they were able to dupe people. Someone like Harriet, who, like I said, she was educated. It wasn't like she was ignorant or, didn't have a brain. She did. So anyway, so I went back and forth. And so that's what I'm working on now.
Wow. I'm looking forward to that.
Nothing to do with Midlife Medium, but that's
no, but let's get back a little bit to Midlife Medium, because you and I've been dabbling in more than dabbling in researching the afterlife for now over 25 years. And you've been at it for a while as well. We could have somebody here who's watching us for the very first time, who's suffered some loss of a loved one, looking for advice. And here there's two happy people that say mediumship is real. Can't you take us back to some of the things that taught you that the afterlife is real?
Okay.
We'll start with that.
Okay. Well, I want to say in my journey, it wasn't a direct route. Because I live in Utah, which is the Mormon state, there are no spiritualist churches here. And so I took a very roundabout way to prove to myself that there was an afterlife and that I could communicate with those in spirit, because I think that's two different things. We can recognize there is an afterlife by getting signs from spirit, the feathers, the coins, the birds, the butterflies. We get a lot of signs from the spirit world. And I got those first, about a year or a couple of years before I decided to become a medium. My husband's mother would send me signs, and they were just too crazy, too coincidental to slough off. A lot of times we get signs from the spirit world and we think, oh, I'm just making something of it. But when it keeps happening, and when things are just so bizarre, you have to stop and realize somebody else is sending me these signs to let me know they're there, they're with me, and they're okay. And so I think that's where it begins. And when my husband's mother was sending me signs, of course, I tried to slough it off as experience, but it kept happening. So it was, coincidence. So I knew it wasn't coincidence. But I didn't know I could have a two-way conversation. And that's the difference. I think everybody has the ability to have a two-way conversation, to become a medium, whether you want to call yourself that or not. I think everybody has that ability. Whether everybody will pursue it and have the discipline to study it, that's a different story. There are some people who want to have that two-way conversation, but only with their loved ones. And that's great. It's more difficult though, because our mind does doubt it and question it, unless it's a sign that whacks you over the head with a frying pan and says, I'm here.
Right.
And so it is a little bit more difficult, I think, to communicate with your own loved ones because of that, because you tend to be skeptical, and you should be skeptical, and doubt it, whether or not you're actually getting a sign. When I ask my loved ones for signs, or even my spirit team, when I ask them for signs, I will ask for 2 or 3. I will ask for one, get it, and then say, okay, give me another one. And maybe even a third time, give me another one, because I'm that skeptical.
Are they specific signs that you're asking for, or just general?
Just general. Just
Okay.
general. It could be a clue on Jeopardy. It could be something I'm watching TV and it's like, that jumps out at me, that really resonates with me, or something I'm reading. My father used to leave coins. My husband got into our car one time and there was a quarter on the dashboard. I mean, nobody was in the car, had been in the car, you know. That's kind of a hit over the head type sign. But I leave it open and general, and because I trust that I will know it when it happens.
Well, that's just it. And we need to be present and not too busy in our own heads.
Exactly.
And we need to pay attention, because I've learned they're so subtle. I could have a picture in my mind that comes out of nowhere, or I could be directed to look at the license plate right in front of me.
Yeah.
And it says John and my dad's name, something
or
like
a
that.
song will come on the radio. Yeah, absolutely. It could be anything. As people will read in my book, I had asked for a sign for something, and that was on a Friday. The next Sunday, 2 days later, was the winter solstice. And my neighbor calls me Sunday morning and says, there's a big bird in my backyard. My dog's going crazy. And I'm thinking it's a hawk, because we have a lot of hawks around here. I look out the window and there is a peacock on my fence.
What?
Now, if that isn't a sign that hits you over the head, I don't know what is.
Yesterday, I was chatting with my good friends, Carrie McLeod and Philip Dykes, who are also mediums. And Phil shared this story actually at a recent demonstration, that when he was really talking to the spirit world, and I need something, he said he was at a zoo and he saw a camel, and he says, if you're really there, have that camel come over to me. So all of a sudden the camel starts walking close, and there's tons of people. The camel reaches down, licks him up one side of the face and licks him on the other.
Oh my gosh.
Just like that.
I know. The spirit world, they're amazing.
And they have a sense of humor.
They have a sense of humor. They're amazing. They're intelligent.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is ask. Sometimes you don't have to ask. Sometimes they are trying to get your attention by leaving coins or feathers or butterflies or whatever. They are trying to get our attention. But again, because we're skeptical by nature, and we should be, we tend to think, oh, that's nothing, or it doesn't even enter our consciousness that our loved one is trying to let us know they're okay.
Absolutely.
So what I recommend for people who are trying to communicate with their own loved ones and have a two-way conversation, and again, your own mind's going to get involved, but do it anyway. Write in a notebook, handwrite, or you can type on the computer. Just do your meditation to get yourself into that mindful space, that powerful space, both in your mind and in your heart, and write out your questions. And wait and see if something inspires you to write an answer. If not, don't worry about it. The answer will come. Either watching TV, reading a book, something you see on Facebook, whatever it is. If you think that's the answer, then say, I think this is my answer. I think this is my sign. Do it again. Do it again. Give me another one. And then it's opening our awareness. It's still being skeptical, but it's opening our awareness.
Oh, it's important to be skeptical, because even you talking about the other medium, there are charlatans out there.
Yes.
A lot of people preying on the grieving still, always have been. Yeah, always have been. I think of your Maria Hayden book, and a lot of people don't know about the history of mediumship and all that. And many of us who always just assumed, because there is so much mediumship and so many spiritualist churches in the UK, well, it must have originated there. You say otherwise. Yes, I know. Why don't you just talk just a moment about that? Because I think our history, not only with genealogy, but our history of mediumship, is something that we can't overlook. I mean, there's been some scientific people for many, many, many years who've been involved with this. And our skeptical mind can easily say, can't be real. But the evidence is there, folks.
Absolutely. Well, spiritualism, modern day spiritualism, what we call modern spiritualism, because people have been communicating with the dead for centuries, since there were people, began in 1848, the end of March 1848, in upstate New York, where two teenage girls, Margaret and Catherine Fox, heard raps on the walls. And why they thought it was a spirit or a ghost, I don't know, but they did, and they tried to communicate with this thing, this person. And so they worked out an alphabet system. The mother helped them, and they worked out what's called calling the alphabet. And so she'd call out an A. Is there a rap? No rap, go on to B. Is there a B? Is there a rap? No rap, go on to C. Eventually that evolved into the Ouija board that Maria Hayden used. She didn't call it a Ouija board then. That wasn't called a Ouija board until it became
the movie. Yeah.
Right. So, but Maria Hayden used a piece of cardboard with the alphabet on it, just like a Ouija board, and people would point the pencil at the letter, and it would be out of her view. So she wasn't controlling it or anything else. And they'd point the pencil, A, no rap, go on to B, etc. So that began here in America in 1848. And then Maria Hayden and her husband, William, took spiritualism and this method of communication with the spirits to England in 1852 throughout 1853. And so she is the American medium who brought spiritualism to the UK, and then it really blossomed in the UK. It blossomed here in America until probably just after the Second World War, but then it started to see a natural decline. And so we don't have a lot of churches. And the American version of spiritualism is a little bit different than the UK version. The Americans have 9 principles. Unfortunately, I've yet to find out where their principles came from. They're very similar to the ones the English say came from Emma Hardinge Britten, the 7 principles, but they're different wording. So they're similar, but I haven't found in American spiritualist history where the 9 principles came from. So they're similar in ways, but they're also different enough in ways. They're obviously the main part of spiritualism is communicating with our loved ones in the spirit world. American mediums have different training than British mediums. My personal opinion is the British mediums have more discipline to their mediumship than I've seen with American trained mediums. So there is a difference, but we're all spiritualists.
Yes, I agree. And sometimes whether you're with, I'll say British trained, because I know the training that you speak of, and I've also witnessed some American trained spiritualists that don't have the level of training. I know that people all come from a good place.
Sure.
And for some, it can get us on our spiritual journey of looking for what else. But I think it's also important that you have it, I have it. I think everyone listening or watching has it, that skeptical mind, because there's part of us, it should be intelligent. It should resonate with you. You should never be left feeling bad, these sort of things. But I do think, there's people that, they may not know any better, but there are different ways. But I want to ask you, as your midlife medium, because you talked about the story before, when you first started practicing mediumship, wasn't there like 100 people you wanted to work on and work with? Because coming from a skeptical mind, could you just talk a little bit about your experience? Because like you said, if we're trying to talk to our own loved one, our mind can get in the way. If I want to talk to my dad, I know a lot about him.
Right.
So is he showing me stuff I already know? Is that my memory? But when you're talking to a complete stranger and you can get some validation, what is that like?
That's the best feeling of all. That is the best feeling of all, when you're doing either a private sitting or demonstrating mediumship in front of an audience, and there's absolutely no way you could know certain things, and people are nodding their head and saying yes, yes. It's like, that's not only validation for you that you have a communication with that spirit person, but it's validation for the recipient or the sitter. It's validation for the spirit world that they got their message across. It's just, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. And what's interesting for me, there are days when I don't feel like doing communication. I'm feeling lazy, or I have other things on my mind or whatever, but I've got a demonstration planned. And so it's like, I'm dreading it the whole time, thinking, why did I agree to this? I don't feel like doing it, whatever. And then when I'm in the power with the spirit, everything changes. And afterwards, I think, why was I so reluctant? Because it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. You have the spirit energy building with it, blending with you, and you've given the recipient or the sitter something no one else but another medium can give them. So
well, thank you for being so honest, because we are human. I'm not always a big smiley person before we get on one of these interviews. I'm thinking, what time is it? Who's this Sharon? Oh yeah, I remember her. I'll put on a smile for her. Just kidding.
It's true. It's true.
When we
all the time.
when we get in that power of being of service, it's just like the wind fills our sails and we can follow our intuition. And I think so many times it's hard to believe that we're more than just the physical being that we are. We are. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe who we are as souls, and how maybe we are able to communicate and know and have this inspiration.
I'm sure everybody has seen that saying on Facebook, we are not spirits and bodies, we're bodies with spirits or souls, whichever way you want to look at it. And that's what we have to keep in mind. Not only that we're physical beings and we do have a soul, we do have a spirit. That's our origin. The physical body is just our body for this time on earth. It's our biology for this time on earth. But I think once you totally embrace that you're a spirit, you are a soul, And again, this physical biology is just here for a short time. It takes away the fear of dying and death. And so at 65, yeah, I hope I have another 20 years. I really don't. I used to want to live to be 100. Now I don't. Now that I know there's life after death, my bucket list has shrunk because I know I can do whatever I want to do in the spirit world. I don't have to get it done here.
Hallelujah to that. I love hearing that.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I have 2 things on my bucket list. That's it. And so it really changes your outlook. It really takes away the fear of dying. Of course, we all are fearful that it's going to hurt. What spirit tells us, however, is that it doesn't hurt. It's just the physical body shutting down, and our family witnesses that. And so it looks like it hurts. Because that's all we can relate to is that physical body, but the spirit, the soul has left the body already as we're approaching death. I'm not saying it was months ahead, but at the moments of that transition, the spirit world tells us the spirit has left the body. They're not feeling the physical death. I mean, if we look at it in reverse and look at birth, if you've ever seen the birth of a baby, and I watched in a mirror the birth of my own. I watched my daughter give birth, and it's like, man, that looks like it hurts. I mean, she got an epidural. I didn't have anything. But the baby itself, that's got to hurt coming out of the birth canal. It's got to hurt. But we don't think about that, do we? We never think about that, because I believe the spirit world has created a system that when we transition to human, when we transition back to spirit, our souls are not there to make the circuit so that there is physical pain. That's my belief. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but signs
That's
point to that. I've interviewed plenty of people that have had near-death experiences and were in some pretty bad shape, and they witness it from outside of their body. And so my friend Carrie explained it. That's like their consciousness is an observer. You're not in that.
Right.
And so I hope so. I really do, because I know.
Who's to say that's not the way with birth?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know when the soul enters the body. Some people believe it's at conception. Some people believe it's at birth, or somewhere in between. But if during the transition called death, the soul is out of the body and observing it, why wouldn't the soul be out of the body during that painful childbirth, and then the soul is put in the body? I don't know.
It's a great thing to think about. I just had this visual of like a little cartoon, and birth process is happening, and they're all lined up like, okay, Fred, time to jump in there.
Okay, here you go. We've got a cannon. We're going to shoot you right in.
Oh, so I know June 25th, you've got stuff going on. I know for many people, June 25th will have passed by now while you're watching this, but what is it you're doing, and how can we find out about it?
So on June 25th is my launch party on Zoom, and you can sign up for that. If you hear this before June 25th, you can sign up for that on my website, www.thegenealogymedium.com. And genealogy is spelled GENEALOGY. Thegenealogymedium.com. Go to the events page and you can sign up for the book launch. July 9th, I'm doing several free webinars in the upcoming months, and these are all on my website as well. July 9th, I'm doing You Can Communicate with Your Ancestors. So we'll talk about how to do that. August 20th, Anyone Can Become a Medium, and this is just a foundation course. September 17th, we'll be writing about your own spiritual journey, if you are interested in writing your journey. And October 15th, we'll be writing your family history. Excuse me, these are all on a Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 Mountain, 12 Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. UK. So those are all free. go to the genealogymedium.com and the events page, and you can sign up for whatever you would like to sign up for.
Oh, how nice. And it sounds like even if we listen in the future to this, go to the website, you could have something else
Yes,
great
because after the new
going
year,
on.
I will probably be doing more. Those events will not be recorded. So if you do want to attend, you will need to attend.
Wow, not doing the recording. Well, let's get back into some of the genealogy though,
Okay.
because I know when we spoke once before, I felt so empowered. Most of us, Sharon, I believe, live life thinking it's just us and then the whole world. And yes, we have spirit guides, we have loved ones. But there's also an army called our relatives that are behind us. Could you just talk about whatever your soul wants to share about that? Because like I said, I'm fascinated hearing stories of genealogy, which I can't help but think I've got this army behind me too. And we're each one of a kind. And if those people back in our family tree hadn't done everything exactly the way they did, we wouldn't be here.
Well, and that's very true. I have to pull out another book. This book is about my family history, but it's called If We Can Winter This. It's available on Amazon, but it's essays about my search for my Irish ancestry. And one of the essays in there, called A Chance Gift of Scarlet Fever, really makes you realize that if my great-grandparents hadn't done X, Y, and Z, I would not be here. It's startling. What happened was my great-grandfather inherited the lease to the land in Ireland. And so he packed up the whole family, my 4-year-old grandmother included, and took everybody back to Ireland. If they had stayed, my mother wouldn't have been born, because my grandmother would not have met my grandfather. And then without my mother being born, I wouldn't have been born. And so fortunately, they came back to America after a year. But if they hadn't, the whole course of my family history would have changed. And so it really, when you do research your family history, you really see the cause and effect of not our lives, but our ancestors' lives and the decisions they made, how they impact us today, not just in a general way, but sometimes in a very specific way. And I believe our ancestors want us to learn about them. I believe if there is an ancestor who doesn't want you to know, they'll put up roadblocks and you'll be hitting your head against the wall trying to research that particular ancestor. As I said earlier, with my next project, I think Harriet was on the fence about how her story was going to be told, which put me on the fence about it. Once Harriet decided, okay, it's okay, here's what we're going to do, and here's what I needed to do, all of a sudden, the research opened up and things just fell into my lap. And it was like, okay, if I had any doubts, they're removed because things are just falling into my lap. And I think that's true with our own ancestors. And I think they're saying, I want to be remembered, record me in whatever way. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to write an essay. If you want to put your research results on Ancestry or Family Search, that's fine. But I want to be remembered. Because nobody, not a single person, wants to die and think that they won't be remembered. Nobody. And so why should it be any different for our ancestors? They don't want to be forgotten. And I think, like you said, we have this whole army, this whole team, whatever you want to call this whole group, behind us, not just our spirit team, which are elevated spirits who probably may have known us before we came to Earth, I don't know, but who work with us in different capacities. Like I have a team for my writing, I have a team for my mediumship, I have a team for teaching. So we have those people who we may or may not know. And then we have our family and our ancestors, and they're all working for us too. It's like, we've been in your spot. We know how hard it is. We've been on Earth. And especially today, we all think that our ancestors had a difficult life. We're going through a difficult life right now with everything going on in the news and the politics and everything else. So they know. And so they're here to help us. All we have to do is ask.
Well, that's just it. They've been here. And so we don't need to worry that there's judgment coming from them. They know how hard it is.
Oh, yeah.
Being human.
Exactly. No, there's no judgment on the other side. There are lessons, but there's no judgment.
Yeah, we can all get lessons. When you said that everyone wants to be remembered, I just can't help but think of the Disney movie Coco. And if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. Oh my goodness, watch it.
Okay.
It's all about our ancestry. There's a young boy who actually crosses over.
Oh.
He comes back. It's quite magical. But there's a most beautiful song called Remember Me.
Oh.
And I can hear it in my mind. I'm getting all choked up.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's beautiful and it's very heartwarming and the music is great. So I can totally recommend it.
Right. Well, I think the important thing also is to realize no one dies alone. Even if you're the survivor of your entire family, the spirit world knows when we're going to cross. And the spirit world is there to greet us, even if it's a baby crossing over, even if they don't have parents or grandparents in the spirit world. They probably have great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, and they're there to greet us. There are always going to be people there for us, whether it's our spirit team, whether it's our pets, whether it's someone in our ancestry who actually knew us before, knows us now, but no one dies alone. So there really is nothing to fear. Yeah,
there's a lot of hospice doctors and nurses that I've spoken with, and people have done great studies on this about just moments before someone passes or a day or two, and they're looking up in the corner and talking to their deceased loved one. And there's many examples of people that are talking to people that they don't even know are deceased because the family hasn't told them. They didn't want to burden them with that.
Right.
And, they're talking away. They see them there. And it's just so comforting to know that is the case.
And don't take our word for it. Go and get a mediumship reading, go to a demonstration of mediumship and get the evidence and make your own mind up. You don't have to take our word for it. If you get a reading with a really good medium, then you will know. There won't be any doubt in your mind.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes learning yourself. I know because you follow what I'm doing, but every Sunday we do a free Sunday service online with mediumship included and do online classes. And there's people that will never be a medium to the public, but for their own sense of discovery have learned it and have been able to give and receive such beautiful signs that our loved ones are still around. It's to me just like playing the piano. Some people are gifted and can just do it, and others practice.
Well, and that's exactly what happened to me. Like I said, I believe everybody has the ability to do it. Whether or not everybody has the ability to play the piano, is everybody going to take lessons and practice? No. You may take a few lessons just to say, wow, this is harder than I thought, and decide not to do it. And the same is true with mediumship. Some people are naturally in tune as children. I wasn't, but some people are naturally attuned as children or teenagers. And then there are the rest of us. If you have a passion for it, if you feel the calling for it, then you will take the classes, you will practice. You will do the discipline that it takes to be a good medium. and then you're off on your journey. My journey, I just wanted to throw in here too, like I said, my journey wasn't a straight line. I did Reiki. I became a Reiki master teacher along the way. I did shamanic healing, and took a year's worth of courses in shamanic healing. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be a medium, but this was all I could find. And in hindsight, it helped heal my soul, which I needed to become a medium. It helped open my viewpoint. It helped open my clairs in ways I hadn't expected. So it wasn't wasted. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was beneficial to me on a soul level for me to get to be a medium.
Mm. Sharon, most of us authors know that you don't get rich writing books.
No,
You don't. If you see a couple dollars, you know.
No.
But there's still,
yay.
I know, but there's still this passion to get the words out. What was it about Midlife Medium that you felt like it's time, this has got to be out there?
Well, as I told you, I started writing it while I was experiencing it. Therefore, a lot of material had to come out. Otherwise, it would be as thick as Maria Hayden is.
She's a big girl. Yes.
And this book is not nearly as thick. So a lot of it came out. A lot of it had to come out because of that. What was your question?
Oh, the passion that said, like, the tipping point.
Why
Like, now's the time to get this out there.
Right. It's not because I feel my experience was the experience. It's not because I think I'm going to be an Estelle Roberts or one of the other mediums of the past and they have a biography or an autobiography or a memoir. You know, I don't imagine my book will survive past my life. It may. If Maria Hayden survives past my life, I'll be happy. I wanted to inspire other people who don't think they're a medium. I wanted to inspire people that anybody can be a medium. You do have to put in the time and the dedication and everything else, but anybody can do it. And so I wanted people to know that, but to also know my struggles to get there. That sometimes it's not a direct path. Sometimes it's not an easy path. Oh, and the 100 readings. See, I got myself off track. You asked me about the 100 free readings. What happened was I had visited Casadega Spirituals Camp, which is in Florida, began by Lilydale mediums. And I took my first real class in mediumship. And I had a wonderful teacher and he talked me through it. And everything I said, the recipient resonated with. And so then I knew, okay, I can do this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I can do this. And so, and this teacher had said, spirit is your best teacher. So when I got home, I was so enthusiastic. I was so excited. I emailed a friend on the East Coast and a friend on the West Coast. I said, I'm developing as a medium. Do you have any friends who would be willing to let me practice on them, with the understanding that I don't know what I'm doing, that this is just practice. And before I knew it, I had 100 over a course of, I don't know, 6-9 months. And so I did free telephone readings. This was before Zoom, or if Zoom existed, I didn't know about it. 100 free phone readings. All I knew was the first name and a phone number. I didn't know anything else about the person. I didn't want to know anything else about the person. And I just jumped in the deep end. What should have been a 7 to 15 minute reading took me an hour, because I'm sitting there waiting for information. I didn't know how to connect with spirit to really get the information. But I figured I couldn't I didn't have any classes. And so I self-trained initially until I found the Spiritualist National Union International and started taking classes. And then a whole world opened up for training. But until then, that's what I did, was these 100 free readings.
Well, let's not brush over the Spiritualist National Union
it's not.
International, because I kind of forgot about that.
Mhm.
In my journey, I found it, and there's mediumship demonstrations online, and the students are participating in that. And are you still the ambassador for America?
I'm the US rep, and I hold a circle every Tuesday. It's at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. UK.
You are just like me. There's so much going on. You rattled
I
them
know, and
all
you
off.
have to figure out all the time zones.
Tell us about the website. Tell us, I know most of the things are happening through Zoom, but tell
Right.
us how to get involved, because it is extremely inexpensive.
Yes, it's very
There's a wealth of information.
Yeah, it's the Spirituals National Union International. So if you just Google that, you should find our website. It's like $30 US for a year, and you have free access to all these classes and services. And we're starting up the demonstrations of mediumship again. In fact, Friday the 24th, I'll be demonstrating on SNUI. It's held on Zoom. For that annual fee, unless you click on one of the squares in the program, because you go to the program, and if you click on one of the squares of something that interests you, unless it says it's closed or it's progressive or whatever, you can attend. And even if you attend and you're not supposed to be there, they won't
They won't kick you out.
They won't ban you from the organization. They'll just say, I'm sorry, you can't be here, and it's no big deal. Happens all the time. So yeah, you can attend. There's a divine service on Sunday. There was one on Saturday. I don't know if there still is. I apologize. I haven't looked at the calendar
Okay.
recently. There are practice circles. Like I said, I lead one on Tuesdays. There's another one if you're in the US on Monday evening. I think it's at, I won't quote
No.
it. It'll be
You're
on
just like me. Yeah, it's funny.
I used to lead that one on Monday, but it got to be too much. I was doing too much. So I just do the Tuesday one. So just remember everything on the calendar, what they call the program, the tuition program, is UK time. So there's a converter on the website so you can see your time versus UK time. There are classes on trance mediumship. There are classes on inspired writing. There are classes, of course, on demonstrating, private sittings. I mean, it's the best value for its money.
Spirit art. I know.
Spirit art. Yep.
That.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit art. Whatever your heart desires is probably there.
It's really good to share, isn't it?
It is. It is. And once I found SNUI and found the classes, Margaret Challenger was my initial teacher. She was fabulous. She scared me to death. She was she was such a disciplinarian, but I learned the most from her. Everything, the teachers are all screened. They don't just allow anybody to teach, and the teaching is consistent with the SNU and the discipline and what's taught at Arthur Findlay College in the UK. It's all, every teacher brings their own spin to something based on their own experience, but it's all the same foundation. So you're not getting confused and well, this teacher says this, and then, well, sometimes you do, because like I said, every teacher has their own method based on their own experience. So some teacher may say, try it this way or try it that way, that kind of thing. But it's all the basic, simple foundation that's the same.
So when I asked you the question about the book and your passion, you said just everybody can be a medium. Well, why? What's beneath that? We're going to just go digging a little bit more.
Okay. Why can everybody be a medium?
No, why would you want people to be a medium?
Why would you want to be a medium?
Why do you want people to be mediums?
Well, like I said, a lot of people want to be a medium because they want to have a two-way conversation with their deceased family members, and it doesn't work exactly the way you think it does, but it can work. Other people feel this calling, and that's what I was surprised. When I started this journey, I thought, oh, I'm just going to practice, see if I can become a medium, have a conversation. That's going to be it. If I become a professional medium, fine. If I don't, fine. And then I did the 100 free readings because I thought if I'm going to hang out my shingle, I need enough practice. So I did. I hung out my shingle. And what was so unexpected about it, as we talked a little bit earlier, is the feeling, the elation you feel when you have connected a loved one with their living person. I mean, there's just no other feeling like it in the world. Well, in our world. And it feels so good. You know, I have students who come on Tuesdays and they'll say, oh, I don't want to work today. I'm not feeling well, or this, that, or the other. And I said, if this were a demonstration and you were being paid, you have to work. I said, so do it. And that's what Margaret taught me too. Margaret in her classes is like, I don't feel well, I have a headache is not an excuse. You do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, once you're in that spirit energy, your world goes away. Your problems, your aches and pains, all that goes away. And on top of that, you know, giving someone, because the word medium stems from the word mediate. We're mediators between this world and the other world. That world and this world. So we're mediators. That's where medium comes from. And to have that ability, to train and have that ability and the confidence that you can connect with the spirit world and make someone's day, make someone's month, someone's year, make someone realize that their loved one will never leave their side as long as they want them there, is just the best feeling in the world. So that's
what I was looking for.
Yes,
because that's a gold mine. I mean,
yeah.
The gift you can be to other people, mm-hmm. if you choose to, but who you are for yourself.
Right. And, you know, exactly. Well, and don't feel you have to be a medium. Like I said, you may be ready to, like I was, but you may not, spirit may say you're not ready. That's why I went on the Reiki path. That's why I went on the shamanic path. I wasn't ready. You know, that saying, when you're ready, the teacher will appear. Well, when I was ready, SNUI appeared. Yeah. But I wasn't ready yet. I mean, mentally I was ready because I'm an impatient person. You know, I'm going to write a book today.
Yeah, I see that. 27, 28, 29, here they come.
It's like, okay, I'm going to write this book today. It doesn't really happen that way. It takes years. I know. But because if you think about it, midlife medium, like I said, I started when I was 56. I believe that was 2014. And the book is just coming out. Okay, that's how long it took for me not only to write it, and to decide what was going to go in, but to be able to reflect on the experience. Because that's what a memoir is. A memoir is a reflection of your experience. And without that hindsight, that would have been a different book, and probably a not very interesting book.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking of, not that we all have to write our memoir, but
right.
We don't give ourselves credit for the journey that we've been on and where we are and what we've learned. And I think you and I both want to, yes, help people believe in the afterlife, know their loved ones are around, but it's also that we can live a powerful life. And if we all did have to write our memoir, we had to start looking back, I don't think we'd be so hard on ourselves, Sharon. I think we would really say, hey, you're not so bad. Look at all these times you've helped others. Look at all this growth that you've had, all these experiences, all these choices that you've made, all these times you've been courageous. So I think all of that is tied in with why you are writing and why you are sharing.
Yeah.
And it's not about, like we said in the beginning, buying a book,
Right. And
it's the entryway. Yeah.
Right. And the book,
so much more.
Even though the book on the surface is about me and my experience, it's about a lot of people's experience.
Absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much. I don't want to leave you yet. I want to leave you an opportunity to anything else you want to say, or if there's just one last message that you want to pull out of that soul. Oh, look at the face. I don't know.
It's like,
what would our loved ones say? What would our whole family tree behind us? if they could leave one message for us, what would it
Well,
be?
and that's interesting because when I do oral history interviews with people, I always end with, what do you want to be remembered for?
How about that?
And, I think our ancestors want to just be remembered that they existed and that they were here and that they made a difference in one way or another. And as for me, what do I want to be remembered for? Well, I kind of have two things. I want to be remembered for the Maria Hayden book. That to me is my legacy. That's her legacy and my legacy. And I hope that book will survive me. But I also would like to be remembered for my sense of humor, because I think, especially today, in today's world, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're going to be in bad shape. And that spirit has a sense of humor too. My spirit team, I mean, they have to have a sense of humor to work with me.
Yeah. I think people who are looking for their spirit team, it's a bunch of people kind of like you know?
Well, like attracts like. That's what
Exactly.
attracts like. And, even when we talk about God, whoever you feel God is or what God is, I feel God must have a sense of humor. If we're created in his or her or its image, then there's a sense of humor there too.
Oh, it's great. I'm not really sure what I'd say, what I want people to
Yeah, what do you want to be?
remember me for. I think it's just that sense of who I've been being, just a skeptic and going after my own answers, that people need to follow their passion.
Yep.
And I want people to be who they are. I mean, there was definitely a moment when I realized I didn't have to look a certain way or be a certain way or be perfect, that who I feel most comfortable in being is just myself.
Yep.
And with that, you can never go wrong. So just leave people with empowering you to be on your own personal journey in life, and don't take anything at face value. There's so much joy in discovery. And of course, you meet some crazy people like yourself. The journey.
I'm the crazy.
It's gonna be crazy. But you also have these conversations that are empowering. You're not sitting around with a bunch of people complaining.
Right.
Oh, I am so done with those kind of people. I really am.
Yeah.
Because we can do something about it. Well, Sharon, tell us the website one more time.
Yes, it's www.thegenealogymedium.com. And again, genealogy is Genealogy, thegenealogymedium.com. Or you can go to SharonCarmack.com if that's easier, and that'll link you back to the genealogy medium.
Absolutely. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube, in the description, there's a live link you can click on. Well, I want to thank Sharon for being our guest today. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sandra.
And also for our listener or our viewer, thank you also. Our home base is wedon'tdie.com. And there you can come to our free Sunday gathering. You can join us for one of our psychic or mediumship classes, or so many more. I mean, there's so much that we offer. You can get a free copy of my book at the store page. Just scroll down, you'll find the We Don't Die audiobook. Use coupon code FREE. And why I push this is because Chapter 10 is how to survive grief. And that's what brought me into this. I know that what I've learned about the grieving process and the tools for help lessening the pain and why we grieve, it gave me my life back. So I always want to share that at no expense to you. If you want to buy the book too, great, but you don't have to. You never know who this information makes a difference for. So if you feel like sharing this episode, hit the share button, go for it. It's interesting. They really, really are. Also, you can find on the homepage of wedon'tdie.com the documentary movie that has been filmed and created, sharing the work of Sonia Rinaldi, who is the Brazilian researcher who uses technology to get pictures and audios, voices from people in the afterlife. It's nothing quite like it. Sometimes words are good, but sometimes pictures are just give you that holy cow moment. Our loved ones are still around. So in closing, my name is Sandra Champlain, always so happy to be your host on We Don't Die Radio. I do believe that life is an education for the soul, that our lives are important, that we have to follow our passions, we have to be ourselves, but also know that you've got a whole team of people behind you. Remember them, research them, talk to them, They love you. You'll meet them in person one day, not too soon, but you will meet them. And if you have that little inkling, I'd like to know more about mediumship or Sharon's Journey, check out her book, Midlife Medium. So in closing, again, I'm Sandra Champlain. Thank you for listening or for watching, and we'll see you soon.